one red, pour out the Jameson for ancestors to swig.
You rescue me yet again. You put me first everywhere. You make me feel better than the multitudes. You rescue me yet again. You put me first everywhere. You make me feel better than the multitudes.
Once you're done crying and upset, you need to get the job done. And that's how fathers think, in my opinion. I don't think women really think like that. A lot of times I feel like women, they're nurturers. So, when the son gets upset or whatever, instead of them being, logical and letting him get his emotions out and then getting back to business, a lot of times it's nothing but it's nothing but comfort, nothing but, oh, I'm sorry, nothing but emotional support from a woman. But she's not giving our men and women the structure and the discipline that they need. One thing about, in my opinion, we have to teach our men that a woman can't teach our men is to take responsibility for your actions. If you're a man, then you should be taught as a child, as a young boy, that, hey, man, you do something wrong, or if you do something bad, you're going to have to suffer the consequences, period. No, you can cry all you want to, you can go to your mama, you can do whatever you want to do. But once all that is said and done, there's still a consequence that you're going to have to suffer. And there's nobody that can get you out of that consequence, period. So I think a lot of times with women, it's just they don't discuss the consequences of these people's actions. A lot of times I feel like they're reactive and not proactive. So, that's just my opinion. Of course, everybody's is different.
That can sit there and discipline the kids, give them hope, values, principles, all the other stuff. We play different roles. This is statistic. If somebody's watching and saying, oh my God, you're discounting women, you're discounting mothers, go get upset at the stats, not at me. This is stats. You can't get upset at 3 times 3 is 9. That's stats. I'm giving you stats that's being given to us by the government because they have access to these stats. This is disturbing. Let me continue. Girls with no fathers have lower self-esteem. We can lower crime, lower mental issues, help the economy, lower suicide rates, and decrease homelessness by bringing back the family nucleus. There are things that my wife can do as a mother that I can't do. There's things she can bring that I can't bring, but there are things I can do that she can't do. So now you may say, well, Pat, I agree. I do agree. We can lower this, but then how come it's not happening? And here's the other question. Who's to blame? Who do we blame with this? Now you may be listening to this saying, well, it's gotta be the husband and wife's fault. It's gotta be the man and the woman's fault. Fine. How come it's not the same ratios around the world? Why is U.S. fatherlessness at 23%? Everywhere else is 7% average. So is it really the mom and dad? So how about the mom and dad in India? How about the mom and dad in China? How about the mom and dad in Germany? How about the mom and dad in Brazil? How about the mom and dad in other places? Why are we at 23%? How did this happen? Was it like this before? Is it an evolution? Is it mainstream media? Is it Hollywood? Is it the fact that parents are afraid of parenting because everybody is so much involved? You can't do that to your kid. You can't do this to your kid. You can't discipline your kid like that. Whose fault is it? It's someone's fault. Is it the fact that, hey, we can't really bring church and schools and pray and all this stuff? I don't know. Maybe that's not something you agree with. Maybe it is. Maybe we need those values and principles. But it's somebody's fault in America that this is happening. This is purely a systemic issue that we're having. This cannot be like in, no, it's really the community, it's the parents, it's the culture, it's all this other stuff. No, standards are standards. We're sitting there not educating. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. No, standards have dropped, and the numbers are showing. If we judged a country based on how many kids are being raised by fatherless homes, that's producing crimes at the levels that we're getting, sex during teenage pregnancy, abortion, suicide, incarceration, maybe we ought to look at this. Maybe this is very important. Maybe our educational system sucks. Maybe. Kids spend more time around teachers than they do around their parents. Maybe, who do we blame? The responsibility has to lie on the nation. Maybe we're either too much involved or we're not selling. Take your time to get married. Take your time before you have sex with someone. Take your time before you get pregnant. Take your time before you have a baby. Protect yourself. Stay home. Do not just go out there and have unprotected sex. Maybe we're not talking about this kind of stuff. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. The stat says we're not selling it in the right way, and we're paying a price for it. If you're in a community that crime is high, hello, you're feeling it. That's the stats. So the next time you see a father that takes their job as a father seriously, you can actually say, you know how we see somebody in military uniform? Guess what you say? Hey, thank you for your service. What do you mean? Hey, man, stats, 23% fatherlessness. And you're there with your kids. Thank you for your service. Being a father is tough. Good for you guys, husband and wife, trying to make this work. Marriage is tough. Salute. You make my life better and safer by raising good kids. Salute to you. Maybe we ought to give those awards. Maybe we need to kind of recognize Father of the Year award, a bigger deal. Man, if I ran a state or a country, we would be recognizing certain behavior and turning great fathers and mothers into heroes. Because God knows their job is hard, very hard. Not, making their job harder, not recognizing the guys that are doing a good job, just kind of winging it, which is the way we're doing it right now. Stats don't favor us. We got some work to do. This is an area, well, I will very comfortably say America's got a lot of work to do. We've stepped away from values and principles, and we're kind of winging it. Anyways, no one masters parenting, and none of us know if we're going to be great parents or not for about 40 years, until our kids are 40 years old. By the time you know you're a great parent, you're probably not alive, because your grandkids will validate that you were a good parent. So you're never going to know whether you were a great parent or not. But I made a video from all the different things I've learned and what I apply in my life about parenting called How to Raise Successful Kids. If you've never seen it, click here to watch that video. Shout out to those of you guys that take your job as a father very seriously. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Facts. So this was a great, I liked it because he kept it general. He did generalizations. He didn't focus on where probably the most of the fatherless households are, which is in the Black community. But, a lot of what he said definitely made a lot of sense. Like he said, the way we raise our kids to go out and live in this society affects everybody. If you're not teaching your son, gun safety, you know what I mean? And, they're running around with guns or things of that nature, and end up shooting somebody and killing them, You blame the parents. You say, oh, it should have been better parenting and things of that nature, in which it should have. But, I don't see a lot of Black women schooling their children on how to use a gun. That's usually a man's job. You know what I mean? I don't get it twisted. I know a lot of women out there have guns in their households. But once again, if you're not teaching your son, first off, that a gun is not a toy. So it's not to be played with. Second, teaching them about, how it'll take a life and how it'll take your life and how you can be locked up in jail and how if something happens to you and you go to jail, there's nothing I can, as a parent, I can't help you. Nothing I can do for you. So you have to make sure that you make the right decisions. I mean, it's just things that I feel like, once again, if you don't have a man in the house, it's just things that you just don't know. So yeah, at this time, I mean, like I said, this was a great speech about parenthood. And like I said, he definitely kept it general. He didn't put any specifics on anything, but we know where a lot of these statistics are coming from and who a lot of these statistics are actually affecting. So once again, this is the Black Fathers Initiative of Cleveland. And yeah, being a great dad is, in my opinion, is its own reward. Unfortunately, you don't, dads aren't looked at like moms are. But, once again, just being a father and, doing the things that you need to do for your children, making sure that they have the knowledge and information that they need to be successful. And, just unfortunately, our women don't have the men in the household like we would like. But only thing I can say for those women, those single women who don't have a man and who don't, have a man in their life helping them with their children, with their sons. All I can say is, maybe get them into some extracurricular activities where they can, maybe there's some men teaching, karate or boxing or anything, just being able to put your son or your daughter around a positive male influence can also, help with the impact of the father not being there. Because I've heard a lot of, young men who, grown up and been, exceptional people. And a lot of it comes from, they was raised in single family households. Well, it's funny because, whenever you, and I'm not saying every single one in the world, but majority of the people that I come across or the women that I come across who say, I'm a single parent, but my son came out, my son is extraordinary. My son is awesome. Most of those women did have men around. Might not have been there with husbands, but they had fathers, grandfathers, uncles, you know what I mean? Cousins, nephews. There was men around your son that were giving him some positive reinforcement that, made him focus more on probably doing some positive things and doing the right thing to keep his mother happy than just out here running the streets, thinking that, you ain't got no authority, nobody can tell you what to do. Because I think that's a lot of it too. Like when you're raised in a household with just your mom, and then you get into the real world and, you got people telling you shit. You got men telling you certain things. You're probably like, man, I don't care nothing about what you got to say. You know what I'm saying? You have lack of respect for men, even though you are a man, because your father wasn't there. So, I mean, it's definitely a trickle-down effect, and it's definitely traumatizing. I think a lot of people in our communities definitely need to go to, seek therapy, because, once again, a father not being in your life is definitely traumatizing, and it definitely affects how you're raised and how you move throughout society. So, definitely, I would definitely seek therapy. I think everybody who was raised in a single father household probably needs some type of therapy. This is just my opinion, though. So once again, appreciate you guys stopping by. www.blackfathersofcleveland.com. Make sure you guys click the link in the bio, like, subscribe. You know what to do. Peace.